Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have a very interesting review for you guys. This is a figure that had just recently shown up on eBay, kind of like those Giganotosaurus figures I found a little while back, which actually turned out to be bootlegs of the Dinosaur line. They kind of bootlegged a Yanchuanosaurus from that line, and when I initially made the review, I didn't know that until afterwards. But this figure, I don't know if it's a bootleg or if it's not, but I don't ever recall a figure looking like this. This is actually a Carcharodontosaurus, which is really cool because we don't have too many figures of that species out there. So when I had initially found this on eBay, I definitely wanted to pick it up. But as per usual, when it comes to these kind of weird eBay figures, there's no brand attached to it. I have no idea who makes the figure. They did not state in the listing, so we're just kind of left in the dark. So after this review gets posted, I'll be waiting for someone to come about and tell me that this was bootlegged from somewhere, but as of right now, I don't know for sure. I can't pick up on where this could have possibly come from, and I think it looks really cool actually, and I'm definitely a fan of the figure already. Really cool looking paint scheme I think they've given it here, and the paint application as well actually looks pretty nicely done for the most part. There's not too much going on with it, but honestly it's a pretty decent looking figure here, so let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Carcharodontosaurus, you can see the nostrils sculpted out up there. You can also see some pretty decent looking skin detail as far as like the skin texture goes. Fairly nice looking. You can also see that the detail around the eye looks pretty good. You have a nice yellow eye with a black pupil, and you have quite a few different variations of color up here on the head sculpt as well. You can see like a really nice brown here in the palate area, some darker browns. You also have a black and some lighter coloration, a little bit of a lighter, like a white down here on the lower jaw that transitions out here to a darker brown at the tip of the lower jaw, and I think it looks pretty darn nice. Really nice looking coloration for the figure overall, and nothing really appears to be too sloppy. As you can see, I do have an articulated jaw on the figure, and once you open it, you can see that kind of skin flap there on the inside of the mouth, which also sports some fairly decent detail. There's a tongue inside there that's sticking up, painted with a nice reddish coloration, fairly, I guess, kind of realistic look. It's not too bright or anything. It's a fairly dark looking color. It kind of has like a gloss coat to it as well. Sort of, it looks like. You can also see the skin detail here on the inside of the mouth over here with like a purplish coloration to that area. You can see the teeth, and they look a little weird, and they're definitely not the best quality. You can see this tooth here is actually bent in. The teeth are very flimsy and thin, but they don't look terrible, I will say that. They are a little bit sloppily painted, but not too bad. It's nothing that I think ruins the figure or anything like that. So, very nicely done as far as the articulated jaw as well. It actually works pretty darn nicely, except for the fact that the teeth kind of always get in the way when I'm closing the jaw, so it kind of makes a little bit of a complicated task sometimes to close it due to the teeth being a little bit flimsy, but one thing I actually think is really funny is you can see it kind of looks a little crooked, actually, if it would focus on it. You can see the jaw looks a little crooked, and when you open it, you can close it like this, and it reminds me so much of the Dinosaur Revolution Allosaurus, the one that has the broken jaw, and the way its head looks when it closes its mouth. It really has that, almost that identical look to it when you actually close the jaw like that, which I thought was quite humorous. But once you start to move back into the neck, you can see lots of really nice creasing in the neck due to the Carcharodontosaurus having its head turned to the left. You can see lots of wrinkling going on here in the neck region of our dinosaur, as well as a little bit of hanging skin right here in the throat region. Really nice coloration that picks up here with like a light kind of a brown or like a tan that runs down from the top of the neck here to right a little bit before the hip, and I think that's a really cool look for the figure. Pretty nice looking paint scheme that they've gone with right there. Coming down into the body, some more really nice skin detail, some nice skin texture. Moving down into the arms, you can see that the hands are sculpted pretty nicely. Nicely painted nails as well, and the nails do seem to have a gloss coat to them. If you come back up here into the body, you can see the skin bunching up a little bit right here in the stomach region due to the leg pushing into the stomach and bunching that skin up. You can kind of see like a row of ridges that run along the spinal column of the dinosaur, as well as some scoots that run along the hip bone right there. You have some decently defined musculature here in the calf and thigh region. Very nicely done there. And you also have some more of that kind of light coloration, and I like that it's bordered with a black. You can see the same deal up here It's bordered with a black just for some extra paint variation to the figure. Some more nice creasing going on right there. The kneecap is present, and then moving down into the foot sculpt looks pretty good. Some nicely painted nails, again with a nice gloss coat. Scoots down the toes, which look pretty nice. You do actually have a dew claw present on both feet. You can see it right there. It is painted as well, so that's also a huge plus. Some nice detailing as far as the skin stretching off of the body right here with this leg pulling forward so far. It would really be stretching that skin, and that looks really nice. Even coming up here into this area, you can really see that skin stretching right there. And then moving out into the tail, some more really nice skin texture as we lead out the length of the tail. Nice looking curve to the tail, fairly natural looking, I would say. It doesn't look like anything that would be too hard for a dinosaur to pull off. And then coming down into the neck over here on the opposing side, you can see a lot less wrinkling going on, a lot less creasing in the skin, and that is due to the fact that the dinosaur has its head turning to the left. It would be stretching the skin quite nicely over here on this side, so that was some very nice attention to detail on the part of whoever made this figure, that they did sculpt it that way. Coming down into the body, again, you can see how nicely done the detail here is in the stomach. You can also pick up on some osteoderms and stuff kind of showing up here and there. Nicely sculpted arm once again. Now you can see the skin stretching off of the body quite nicely due to this leg pulling back and stretching that skin. It looks really good. Lots of creasing going on the whole way. You can also see the hip bone right there. Pretty decently elaborated. Again, some more osteoderms and stuff here and there in the thigh. Some more really nice detail of the skin right here. Just kind of showing some more of the movement. The skin is stretching really nicely as this leg is really pulling back here in a outstretched position. And then coming down into the foot, you can see the foot has a pretty significant curve to it due to the way it's stepping. The nicely painted nails, again the dew claw right there, very nicely sculpted out detail throughout that entire leg. Some more really nice detailing up here as far as like that skin bunching up and skin creasing there right behind the thigh here, again showing some more of the movement in the dinosaur. And then we have some more osteoderms running out onto the tail, some more of those kind of light brown spots. And then we run out the length of the tail again with that really nice curve. And you can see the underside also sports some really nice detailing to it the entire way through the underside. So honestly, it is a really cool looking figure and pretty darn nicely done for being a company that we have absolutely no idea who is behind it. Again, just kind of one of those random dinosaur figures that show up on eBay or AliExpress from somewhere in China with no actual company behind it, but a really cool looking figure, I will say. Another really cool aspect of the figure is the fact that it actually balances really well, which is also something you don't often see from these figures that just show up kind of randomly from China. They normally have really bad bowed legs or balancing problems, but this one doesn't. This one actually stands up pretty nicely, and it's a completely solid figure. You can feel when you hold it, it has some, it's not heavy, but it has some decent weight behind it and has a really good, sturdy and solid feel to it. So again, the quality is really nice on the figure overall. And then you also have an articulated jaw, which works really well, which is also something that you tend to sometimes have an issue with when it comes to a company that bootlegs figures from China. They do sometimes have like really crummy articulated jaws, but this one does not. It actually has a nicely articulated jaw, which makes me wonder who exactly is behind this figure, because I'm definitely interested in seeing more from them. But for a length, if we go from the snout here to the tail, you are looking at about almost 10 3/4 inches, very close, or about 27.5 centimeters for a length. And then for a height, you are looking at about a little over 3.5 inches or 9.5 centimeters, somewhere in that area. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Carcharodontosaurus. And next to these figures, you can see that the figure overall does not have a very large size. I will say that. It's not anything that is overly impressive in the size department like a lot of these Chinese figures that show up like bootleg style figures usually do, like those Giganotosaurus, aka Yangshuanosaurus. They did have a really good size to them. This one actually has a fairly smaller size to it. I would say it's similar in size to kind of the Rebor Eutyrannus or Ceratosaurus, somewhere in that range as far as the size goes, but hopefully these figures will help to give you a good idea of that. So this random, absolutely unknown Carcharodontosaurus figure is really, really cool. Definitely another really nice figure that has just randomly shown up on eBay out of nowhere, and I'm definitely impressed with it overall. Really nicely done, I will say. As far as the sculpt goes and the detailing, like the fine detailing, it is really nicely done detail-wise. You can see like they've done a good job of paying attention to the small things like the fact that the skin is creasing nicely on the left side of the neck but stretched on the right side due to the dinosaur having its head turned to the left. And they've just done a pretty good job, I think, in sculpting out like really nice skin detail, like in the leg areas where it's stretching the skin. It actually stretches all the way up almost onto the hip region and really shows like the movement of the dinosaur as far as the skin detail, which is definitely a nice plus. That's something I really do like to see. The sculpt overall, I feel like, is in a nice kind of a walking pose. There's nothing overly flashy to it, but it looks pretty good and looks pretty much as good as it needs to be, which is also a plus. And the fact that it balances completely on its own quite nicely is a very nice surprise, because honestly, when I get these kind of figures, I don't even expect them to balance. I usually kind of go into them expecting warped legs and lots of issues with the figures, but that is not the case with this one, which is, again, to my surprise, a really, really big time plus on the part of this figure. The paint scheme as well is pretty nice. It's different than most figures that you usually get, I will say that, but it's actually kind of refreshing because of that. You look at it and you kind of look at the like second half from like the legs back, and there's not really much paint variation to it. All you really have is like a brown, a lighter underbelly. It darkens a little bit at the tip of the tail there, and you can also see like that light, like orangish, yellowish, brownish type of a coloration that kind of spots in a few places and is outlined with a black. But then once you actually head back toward the front of the dinosaur, and you can see how that brown and that lighter orangish brown and the black and everything all plays off of each other. It does look really, really cool, and I definitely do quite like the paint scheme, and I don't feel like there's like a significant lack of paint, just because, I mean, you kind of take one glance and it kind of looks like it, but when you actually just take the whole figure in, it actually is a pretty darn cool looking paint scheme. So overall, I am quite happy with that as well. And we have an articulated jaw, which is also a plus. The only downside, I think, to the entire figure that I can really see would probably be the fact that the teeth are a little bit sloppy and they're really kind of thin and flimsy. But that's just a really minor nitpick. Other than that, honestly, it's a pretty darn nice looking figure. So if you would like to pick one up, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on eBay. So make sure you head on over to eBay, purchase yourself this really cool Carcharodontosaurus figure, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.